Welcome everybody to this edition of Beers with Bill. It is my pleasure to welcome back Graham Spence from Block 3 in the Village Beer Garden. Graham, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Have I got the record now? Am I still ahead of Marvin, or?
You're ahead of Marvin now, yes.
There we go. It's all I
haven't talked to Marvin since he moved.
Yeah. The new stat.
Yep. But it's quite the change.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start with the Hellish Logger. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think those that have been on here before, that's usually the one I start with. Just nice, light, easy drinking. Kind of like a go-to for us. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good beer, and I still like it. So that's a good thing.
It is one of your mainstays on your list, right?
Yeah, it's there all the time now, and we sell a lot of it at the beer garden, so it's a big mover.
So I have to ask, what's it been like through the last lockdown and the new startup, which you've had like today to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a little frustrating, like when you get locked. Like January and February, as you know, are usually slower months anyway. So when like any little bit helps, I think. So that's kind of disheartening when you kind of start off the year on a bad foot, and this will be like 3 years now, or 3 fiscal years, I guess, that have been impacted by this. So I mean, there's nothing you can do, but it's frustrating.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it is, because you're right. For you know, we're fast approaching 24 months now.
Yeah. So it's crazy to think that, you know, I think when you started this, year and a half ago, right? And it's crazy to think that this is still the normal.
Yeah, that's true. This has become the normal. I had Sam from Sada City on in the first of January, and he was like, "Wasn't I on the last time we were locked down?"
Yeah.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, yeah, you just gotta roll with it. So we try to spruce things up a little bit at the brewery. We did of course, we waited till last week to do it, but we took one of the walls down in there and opened things up a little bit. Nothing like that on a Thursday before you open on a Monday, but whatever.
Yeah, things do.
You know, you only had all month to think about it, and whatever.
That's usually, it's like, okay, if we're gonna do it, let's do it and get it done.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we did, and so it's still kind of I think it looks really good. It really opens the space up, and it's just now it feels weird going in there, and because it looks totally different than before. So,
well, change can be great, and change can be a little bit disconcerting for people.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had a bunch of people in this, the last 2 days that saw it, and everyone seemed to think that it was looking good. So, to answer your question, Jen, we had a wall kind of right in the middle there. So at the brewery, right in the right across from the bar, just like an interior wall.
Yeah.
So we kind of moved all the barrels that were there from behind the wall and moved them out and kind of set them up so that they're now more of a focal point. You can see them. Moved the foeder around as well, so that's kind of right front center in the tap room. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to coming up and seeing that change. Because I'm kind of a barrel guy, with the background loving wine more than beer. And so, making the barrels a focal point is probably a good thing. So I have curiosity questions. Have
All
have
right.
you found over the last year that your licensees have moved away from kegs and more to cans?
Yes and no. I mean, I think there is more of the bottle shops kind of thing that are opening, but I don't know. Like, we haven't really like our kind of our like licensee kind of core licensee thing has kind of dropped. And mainly stuff like closing and people moving around, and so I think it's kind of we got to go out and do a little bit of a better job kind of getting those back again. But yeah, I think it's just been for a lot, like just trying to figure out what kind of volumes that we're doing. Like we have the beer garden, and then we do brew all the beers for Aberb or Abernerb. So that they just opened, I think, their Kitchener location a couple weeks before the lockdown. So just getting an idea of what kind of volumes they need for that. So
That's been an interesting change for you then to brew for them.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't something that we were looking at. I mean, but it's a nice way to kind of keep the tanks moving and keep things flowing. And it's kind of like it's much easier to sell a whole tank than it is to sell a bunch of different kegs to everyone, right? So
yeah. Yep.
And yeah, we did tweak the recipes a little bit.
Well, I can imagine there's changes that would have to be made. So
yeah, just to kind of flow with the stuff that the different malts that we use and the yeast that we use and the hops that we have. And, so I think that they're better, but I'm biased. So
yeah. And then from the standpoint of view of people coming into the bottle shop and that, one of the questions that people that tune in regularly have is, have you found more people purchasing kegs for personal use?
Yeah, to be honest, I think there's a lot of people that have gone that route and with the kegerator, and it's been kind of surprising to see. To be honest, you always had a few, but I think it's a lot more than even like 2 years ago. So.
Okay. Personal note, what artist are you listening to on your playlist right now?
That is a good question. I'll be honest, I don't control the music at the brewery at all. I do listen to a lot of podcasts on the drive-in, but at the brewery I just listen to whatever they put on, and that's it. If I was there by myself, there probably wouldn't be any music on, because I don't know. Kevin thinks that's a psycho killer trait, but it's when I'm focusing on something, I don't hear the music. So
okay, but you did touch on something I would have asked you later on. That is what podcasts are you listening to right now?
So I like to listen to there's one called How I Built This with Guy Raz, which is nice. That's an interesting one. I do listen to the 32 Thoughts podcast, which is a hockey one. And that pretty much makes up those. There's enough of those, but to make up my drive to and from work every day. Okay. So.
Yep. With all the change, pardon me.
If someone else has a good podcast, I'm open to suggestions.
I hear you. With everything that's gone on in the last 6-7 months, how are you staying grounded?
Just I mean, I think the family helps keep it grounded and busy. I got I've got 2 young boys, so
yeah.
I feel like I'm in a constant state of tired.
I can well imagine. Yes. I mean, I go visit my grandchildren, and after a couple of hours, I've kind of had enough, and it's like, I'm done.
Yeah. We joke that it's we're just both like walking zombies, because it's when one doesn't wake up early, the other one does, and you never get the full night going. So
yeah. And I can imagine with 3 boys, what one doesn't think of, the other 2 will finally figure out on their own.
Yeah. So, and I think it's tough, right? Because without you're in the it's with some of the cold days that you've had, it's kind of, and nothing really open to go do. You're kind of stuck at home, if you will, trying to figure and create fun and keep them entertained and not driving you crazy. So it's keeps you on your toes a little bit.
I can well imagine on that one, Graham. What's been the hardest hurdle this last little bit to overcome?
I don't like. I think it just gets, it's semi demoralizing when you think you're kind of over it, and having to reduce and not schedule staff again. That's always the tough part, right? We are a living wage employer, so we try to do our best to treat our employees well, and so when you're not able to schedule them just because there's it wouldn't make sense. It's tough, right? Like you don't know if they rely on that to get by, and that's the toughest part, I think.
Yeah, I can imagine you have to make hard choices sometimes, and those are not fun things to do.
No.
And the government certainly hasn't helped us along that route very well the last little while.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So
I mean, I'll let you go.
No, go ahead. You had your thought.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, it's tough, right? Like, before, when it was like federally mandated, they had programs, they put the programs in place, and there was that. But once you get into the provincial thing, right? Like when they shut things down in January, and then they had to know that it's shocking that they couldn't have the foresight to get programs ready to have that, and that, like, they're not supposed to be ready to go till like mid February when things are opening up again. That doesn't help the businesses that are paying rent and paying supply, like whatever it is, right? That couldn't be open, and it's just shocking. To be honest, I think, and I'm not going to go political on this, but the way this has been handled after like 2 years almost is super disappointing. You think that they would know and do better, but it just doesn't. What's happening just doesn't make sense to me.
I hear you on that. They've had lots of forewarning about what they should be doing.
Yeah.
And yet they're still managing not to do those things.
Well, yeah, and they know what the issues are, and they know, like, the issues are the same as before, and that hasn't been solved, right? So, like,
yeah,
could you keep things open and put that money towards bringing in more doctors and nurses, like, or and I know that there's immigrants that come to this country that are foreign trained elsewhere, and their qualifications don't count here, right? But like, I just don't think there's any outside the box thinking going on. It's just crazy to me, but I'll stop there.
Yep. No, it's political, and I understand. And it's a little bit mind-boggling. At the same time, they're probably going through the same issues that you're going through,
Well,
trying to figure out how to make things work.
and it's not an enviable position for them to be in either, right? I think you're never going to please everyone, and with any decision that you make. So, you got to keep that in mind too. And so it's it, when they're making these decisions that they don't want to, but I think if they think they're just trying to do the best that they can, but I just think that sometimes the common sense isn't ruling out.
Now we'll just keep it simple. We thought the Keystone Cops were running the province for a while.
Yeah.
But you're right. I wouldn't want to have to be in their shoes and make the decisions they've made.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to go to the triple next, or are we going to do the porters?
I was thinking we would do the porters and then save the triple for last.
Okay. So we're going to start with we made a porter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little background on these two. So the two different porters are, so they're the same base recipe. This one has coffee. So it's good. We used the coffee beans from across the street, and then we cold brewed them, and added into that batch. So we split off the batch, did canned half as the porter, and then injected cold brew and a little. Well, there's a little bit of an extract, and I'll see if someone can guess it when they get to that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I mentioned on one of these before that we don't really make a ton of dark beers. It's not really a big thing for us, but I do really like this one, and I've been pouring this a lot more than I thought I would be. I just think it's really nice. It's got a little bit of roastiness, a little bit of chocolate. It's pretty smooth as well. So
yeah, it's got everything that you would want in a well-made porter.
Yeah.
So I can see why you would be drinking this one a lot.
Yeah, it's it's just nice. I think, especially this time of year too. I think that kind of goes well with looking outside and seeing snow. Like, are we getting a big snowstorm yet?
Yeah, we're supposed to get one sooner than the next little while. Again, at least it's not minus 27.
Oh yeah, those were crazy. I was at the soccer game on Sunday in Hamilton, so I was very thankful that it wasn't on the Saturday, because I don't know how my feet would have handled that.
It would have been. I was the same thing. It was like, oh my gosh, at least it wasn't Saturday. It's terribly cold. So what was the vibe like at the game?
It was awesome. The atmosphere was awesome. It would have been amazing to see the stadium full. It just sucks, right? Because the literally 7 hours later, all the restrictions were lifted, and they would have been 100% in there. And it's just and if Buffalo had, but like the Buffalo Bills had won the week previously, literally at the same time, you would have had 70,000 people an hour down the road and jammed into a stadium, right? It's but no, that atmosphere was great. It was good, especially that they won. So
they're on a tear right now, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we are.
Yep. So nice to get away and do something relaxing.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I've been following the Canada soccer for a while, so I've been to a few different World Cup qualifying games, and when I saw that come to Hamilton, I was like, yeah, I'm going.
I can totally understand. We can't pass up the chance when it's that close.
No, not at all. So, sorry, question there.
He's just trying to convince you to move, open up a beer garden in Kitchener near his place.
Yeah, I mean, we have the we had previously looked at doing some other like another location, um, but that we couldn't really ever find a good spot for it. I don't think we'd ever say no. Like if it was a good spot that we could throw something, like we could put something in, it would be a for sure. But it's just finding that spot, and I think for to be honest, at this point, it would probably be you want to get a good year of non-lockdown, anything like that. So get things flowing, and then look at it. But
Yep, I can hear you on that one. You'd like to be able to be open for a full 12 months.
yeah, I've always thought that like Waterloo Park, or I mean, I know they have it at Victoria Park, like the boathouse at Victoria Park, but I just like I always thought like Waterloo Park or the boathouse done better would be a really cool spot, but I don't know I don't know what kind of traffic you would get through there. I think with all the houses at Waterloo Park, or like all those condos, you'd probably get a bunch of traffic. But
yeah, the boathouse struggles more under the issues from the city than anything else.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You're in both scenarios. You're dealing with the city, but
yeah,
I think that's where you could could really truly get that like European beer garden vibe, right? Where they're located in parks.
well, yeah, I mean, you underneath the trees,
Yeah.
lights strung across, that would be a perfect and ideal situation to have it in.
Yeah.
So David, what you do is buy that cul-de-sac at the end of your street.
Yeah, no kidding. Just take down the 12 houses that are there and actually do something with the space.
So Graham, has COVID affected how you get your message out now? Or not affected, but changed how you get your message out?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I mean, we've gotten I think social media and like the email blasts they're more important now. But no, I think that we still get when things are open, we still get a lot of people that just are in St. Jacobs and stumble upon us for the first time and never heard of us. So we still with that, I think that the luck or surprise factor still plays a part.
Well, it is a pleasant surprise to be in St. Jacobs if you've never been and discover Block 3, one of the best breweries in the region.
Maybe we'll take it.
And particularly, if you like Belgian style beers, that's been your focus for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially like throughout the winter, we kind of, we always do have something Belgian on, but especially right now we have a bunch of different Belgian options. So, yeah, I think I'm still a fan of them. We've kind of changed, not so it's not all Belgian. Like we used to have like pretty much exclusively Belgian for a little bit there, but it's nice to kind of have a little bit of a variety. And
is that the influence of Kevin?
I think it's a little bit of that, and it's a little bit of our palates changing as well. We brew stuff that we like to drink, so that's how it rolls. But there is, there is the few that we it's like we still brew the quad, we brew the triple, which we'll have later, and that's because we still like those styles. It's just not if we had a full-time triple or a full-time quad, that would be pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, and you've expanded your barrel program, have you?
We actually started. We kind of trimmed it back a little bit. We had about 120 barrels, I think we're down now to like 30 or 40. We we ramped them up, and then it was basically right before right, like whenever like all these other breweries that were opening up with with barrel programs or barrel specific breweries, and that the market for that is not that big. So we would notice that, you know, some of our barrel aged stuff would be sitting around a lot longer, and then so you wouldn't get the turns on it, or like you wouldn't be able to release as much of it because you'd be sitting on the skids of bottles, and just from a space perspective for us. So we reduced our barrel program, and then we're just going to focus on doing like, you know, 3 maybe 4 barrel releases a year. And
Okay. Now that's kind of a fair assessment because there are a lot more barrel focused breweries now than there were in the past.
yeah, and I think, to be honest, like even those barrel focused breweries, you're seeing them go into non-barrel beer, but right, like even Small Pony has some, you know, quote unquote clean beer, and Reverence Barrel Works would be the same. You know, that they have their Brawley side project
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, like so I think, you know, they've realized too that, you know, it, you can like the barrel stuff, but is it necessarily like a full time thing in Ontario? And I don't think it is.
Okay. Got a question from the audience that I'm curious as to whether how much was the changing of the beer from changing your palate or more for what customers wanted?
I'd say it's a bit of both. Like, I mean, um, like when we started, like I wouldn't, you know, I wasn't a big fan of IPAs, and I think, to be honest, that's maybe more because the styles at that point, you know, that was like the Ontario IPA that was malt heavy and bitter, which I'm still not a fan of. And I, you know, like whereas the stuff that is coming out now is, you know, I'll drink the one up. I like the one up. I like the different IPAs that we have that are more fruit forward and less like ultra bitter and sweet. Um, I think it was just us. It's more. It's a bit of both, I'd say.
I hear you because you guys opened right around the time that big punch in the face, heavy bitter beers started to take off in
Yeah.
IPAs.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember I don't know. Innocente is there when they first had their first beers out, and holy man, they were.
Yes, he was doing the traditional British bitter as much as you could.
Yeah, I remember the first one I grabbed. I was like, "Oh my goodness, what happened here?"
Yeah, and I was the opposite. I was like, "Oh yes, finally someone's made a true bitter." So, what do you see that's new and exciting happening in the beer industry right now?
I'll be honest. You know, we've with this, like, I've kind of just narrow-minded and focused on our own stuff. So I haven't. That's the other tough part too. Is, you know, we used to do a lot of collabs and go out and see other places, and that's been missing for 2 years for us. So you know, that's one thing I think we're all looking forward to is going back out and, you know, visiting other breweries, and you know, that's what really you know, helps innovation and helps us, you know, improve processes and come up with different styles. And I think the Fickle Mistress, I think I've told this one, you know, that we were out in BC at Four Winds Brewery, and we had their Nectaris, and we came back, we had it, we're like, oh my goodness, like this is amazing, we need to try to do this. So, you know, before we came up with the name Fickle Mistress, it was the code name was, we tried to make Nectaris for that beer. That's, you know, like it's nice to kind of go out and see what other people are doing, but it's just been kind of shut off for for a while, so we'll get there.
So that's probably true of pretty well everybody, that the collabs and the getting out and seeing each other has been curtailed for quite some time.
For sure, yeah, I think so. Like, there's been like, I know some breweries are doing like the virtual collabs, but I don't think that's the same. It's not the same as going out and interacting with people. And like, I'm sure we'd all much rather be sitting at kickoff doing this than on the computer, right? So
yeah, that's true. So let's crack open the and this one has coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I said, this one is it's the same base recipe, with like infused with cold brew, and then I'll see if someone can guess the extract. So it's well, maybe I'll give you a hint. It's a candy bar extract that we put in. So let's see if I coffee crisp. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I think we for our fickle mistress, the raspberry ginger version, we use like a ginger extract in that, because for 1,000 liters that would take a long time to do all that ginger. And so when we were ordering that, I was like, oh, what's this coffee crisp? And so we got like a little small sample of that, and like, oh, we'll use it at some point. So I thought for this one, it would be an interesting little like back end note for it. So I think it's nice. It's you know, you can taste the difference between that and the porter. The coffee comes through, and then it's got like a bit of like a, you know, like a wafer, that wafer biscuity thing from the extract.
No, I like it. That's an interesting finish to it.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose I also like that the coffee aroma that comes off of it immediately.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think yeah, it's got a, you know, a really nice like strong coffee kick to it.
Yeah. So why doing the cold brew before you put it in the beer?
We just find that, so like the cold, like you get a little bit more of the extraction from the coffee beans that way, or at least that's what we find.
Okay.
And I mean, I guess it does give it the caffeine kick as well. So I know some people don't like that, but I think for this one, it works out well.
Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it from an extraction point of view, that you could get more with the cold brew.
Yeah, I think like cold brew, it extracts like generally cold brew is higher in like caffeine and the like the coffee flavor than just like a regular brewed coffee. And I don't know if that's because it extracts better under the different temperatures, but that's what we've seemed to have found.
You're gonna have to look that one up and check that one out. That's interesting. I know that I do cold steep tea in the summertime for a drink.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of like that too. Yeah, when you're, and then I think it's similar for that. When you're doing like an iced tea or something like that, under that, they generally, you know, it's generally water it back by half, I think, is the.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just making a tea, so I think it might work for tea as well. That's my non-scientific reasoning. my hypothesis.
So I'm curious, because the last time you were on, we're trying the cider. Is the cider working out okay for you guys?
Yeah, the cider's going well. We have got another batch in. I think we're looking at we're gonna start pulling. We're gonna pull some of this batch off, and we're going to try to do like a sangria version for the spring summer.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So like we'll pull off we got a couple of 100-liter tanks, so we'll pull off two different ones and see if we can do like a different fruited version. The only thing is we don't know how the fruit will react with the cider, so that's why we'll try it in a smaller batch first. But yeah, I think that's like so just something different for that. And but yeah, it's been going over really well at the brewery, and we don't send it out too far. It's just at our tap room and then down the street. So
yeah. I hear you on that. Yeah. And spontaneous number one. How did that go for you?
It was well. I mean, I think we still have some. To be honest, I think for me that one kind of, it was fine. It was good, but I think it missed the mark a little bit. I think with the wine grapes, it was we had the stems, and we kind of did like a maceration with the stems as well. So for me, that one, it comes off a bit like you can. I get a bit of the vegetal side of it from the stems. So for me, that one's I'm not grabbing it. But I think we for the next one we'll do some different fruited version of that without we'll use some of the purees instead of kind of the whole fruit action that we did there.
Okay. No, I was just curious how these are experimental things that you decided to step into, and
for sure, yeah.
Wanted to know how they were going on. So apart from doing a sangria style cider, are you other things in the works for Block 3 in the future?
Yeah, I think we've got a few new different beers coming out in the next couple of months. So we're gonna do like a kind of Pliny knockoff, like a West Coast IPA. So something that does have a little bit of bitterness, but still has like that fruitiness as well. We got a few different combinations coming up with the Fickle Mistress. Looking at doing a couple different lagers as well.
And I know you're busy with your 3 boys, but is there anything coming up for Graham in the near future?
Sorry, what's that?
I could say, is there anything in the what's coming up for you in the future?
I think they're the little ones that have they're starting soccer on the weekend, so it'd be pretty funny to see a little 4 and 2-year-old run around and kick a ball. So got the other one just started, the older one, in some skating program, so he's obsessed right now with hockey. So we'll see how it goes.
So you're going to be putting skates on and going out on the backyard pond, are you?
No, we won't do one here. There's one not too far from us, so I've taken him there before, like once or twice, but yeah, I'll let someone else teach. My back doesn't like that.
Okay. With everything starting to open up, what's the one thing you think the craft beer industry could be doing better now?
I think there is an opportunity for big opportunity for more collaboration in terms of logistics and even sales and that kind of stuff. I think that's something that's missing right now, where as small breweries, it doesn't make sense to have like a dedicated sales rep for just us, right? It would make sense to share that resource or have an outsource, like a third party that does it. But that's it's been slow to happen, which has kind of been surprising for me. But and the same thing with the delivery as well. There is some delivery options, but it's they're still not the best setup yet.
What do you think is going to spur that to finally happen?
I don't know. I think a lot of people just get caught. You just get like in your narrow mind, like narrow focus, and I've had this conversation with a couple other places, and it just gets. I think it gets lost. They just, well, why would we have our own driver? Why would we share a delivery driver? I was like, well, literally, we're going to the same places, so why wouldn't you? Right. So
it is interesting in business how people, first of all, I think in fairness, everyone's just trying to survive right now.
That is true.
But the other side is it is always hard to get people to see that a rising tide raises every ship in the harbor. And so if you start to do things better, it's not going to it's not going to affect your sales except upwards, not downwards.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's hard to get people to see that.
I think so. Yeah. And we've had like we tried that little collective thing with local breweries, and then it ended up with like me doing all the work, and then I was like, this is brutal. I'm not gonna continue doing all this and then everyone else just ride the coattails. So, but that, like, stuff like that, I think it would be nice to get going. Like I look at what Guelph's done with their their Guelph beer bus that goes around and stops at every single brewery. Like, if we could get something like that going in Kitchener-Waterloo, I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, it would. And you've got a lot more options in your region than Guelph has, that's for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Can you share with us your funniest?
Oh, the Brave. Okay.
Brave Noise Initiative.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we have, we participated in a few different ones this year. And I think for us, like, it's just, it's hard, and I support everything that they're doing, but it's just hard to do every single one. Especially, when we're having all the different restrictions in place. So what, we've had I think we did the all together now. We were there was one, the Red Beer Project, which was not apparently kosher look, which we had as well. So yeah, I think the tough part is that I would love to sit there and say we could do every charity beer that was, or special interest beer, and that might be the wrong term for it, but it's tough to do every single one.
That's very true. You have to sort of conserve your resources right now and pick and choose the ones you want to chase.
For sure. And I think that sounds hard, like, yeah, it's just tough, right? Like if things were open and things were flowing, maybe it would be a lot easier just to sit there and say, yeah, we can do this right now. But it's there's there are different things that go into that, right? So
yeah. Talk to me about the 3-ring circus, the Belgian triple.
All right. I expect to see Mr. Bartel on this. I know he's a big Belgian fan, so
yes.
He's hiding right now.
Well, they just reopened too. I'm sure that he's probably just trying to chill out.
Yeah.
When we get into the off the record part, you can bring us up to date what happens. Love the color, Graham.
Yeah, so I mean,
Wow.
yeah, it doesn't taste like the 9% that it is, which is dangerous. But it's got like that little bit of like stone fruit, a little bit of sweetness that you'd expect in a triple. I think it's just, it's got nice carbonation on it too. So
Yep. You're right. This does not drink like 9%.
no.
Or should I say it drinks like a dangerous 9% because
I can assure you that it is.
what's been the most challenging beer that you've made?
The most challenging beer that we made. I'd have to say, like, probably the spontaneous one. That was kind of new territory for us, like totally different techniques and different mash, like in the brewing process, different techniques there. And that and maybe even the Fickle Mistress as well. I think I know I've mentioned this before, but we started off kind of doing the kettle sour. I'd like to say it's one of the first in Ontario, but it was not very good. But so like just refining that technique, and we brew that almost 2-3 times a month, right? So
yeah, it's become your signature beer in a way.
For sure, yeah.
Yep. Would you share with us your funniest beer story?
Oh, funniest beer story. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I'll think of one, and I'm drawing a blank right now.
Okay, well, I'll move on to something else while you're thinking about that if you want.
Well, I mean, for us, I mean, one of the, I guess, like maybe for me, one of the funnest things that we do is when we do we'd like to put our employees' names on different beers and not tell them that it's happening until it comes out. So I know we've got one in the works that's coming out soon, and he has no idea. So so it's always funny when they come in, and we started off doing it when one of the guys when one of us would have a kid. So we did it. The first one was the live free or die hard, which was everything that Kevin hates, which is an AC/DC and Die Hard reference. So so he thought it was a joke, and then no, it was yeah. So we released a full batch of it and had made up T-shirts for him and all that with it. So
Yeah, I can see that. He probably didn't appreciate it in some ways.
I think he pretended that he didn't, but he did rush out from the hospital to come make sure he grabbed a 6-pack. So I think he liked it.
Who's been the biggest influence in your life?
In terms of like the brewing side or anything?
I'll let you choose which way you want to go with that.
It's like a Larry King interview here. You're just going hard-hitting questions. I'd say probably like the easiest one, or like it would be my parents. That they've always been super supportive. So that, and they've always, like helped us out or helped me out with things. So I'd say my parents.
And every so often, do they take the 3 boys off your hands?
They haven't. No, they do every once, like they come down and visit periodically, but they're down in Florida now for a good 4-month stretch. So
Okay. Can't just throw the kids on an airplane and go, "Hey, mom, dad, they're coming to visit you."
not at this age. Hopefully soon.
I know you haven't gotten out a lot in the last little while, but in your estimation, who do you think is the newest up and coming brewer in the region?
Well, in the region,
or for that matter, in the craft beer scene, who do you see as a new up and coming brewer?
it's a good question. Like I know in the last, I guess, year and a half, there's been like the Wood Brothers out of Quebec, or sorry, just not Quebec, just outside of like Ottawa, and Third Moon have come out. I haven't tried. I've tried a little bit of the Third Moon, and I haven't tried anything from the Wood Brothers, but I know they're kind of on the hype train, if you will. I'd say in the region, who's new? I mean, I like some of the stuff that Counterpoint's doing. I know you're going there tomorrow, but yeah, they've been doing some nice stuff, and I think they're growing, and then they've got some new equipment coming in, so they'll kind of have a little bit more beer around, and I think that's a good thing.
Yep, I know he's got some new equipment coming in. I'm still going to brew on the old stuff.
Nice.
Get to do a double batch.
There you go.
I'm just looking at the questions that I have here so I can find another one to stump you with, okay?
Awesome.
I'm almost out of questions, Graham. You know that.
That's all right. I'm open to any questions, anyone.
We'll get that afterwards. How's your routine changed since COVID?
I don't know. To be honest, I guess it's just more. I guess more time at home. Would be the thing. Some of the like the hockey or soccer that I would play weren't happening. So kind of more trying to not just sit my butt on the TV or on the couch and watch TV.
He's curious about the triple.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna draw a blank, but and what is it? What's that one called? I mean, Chimay. I mean, there's I forget which color it is, but it might be the white cap. But the Chimay has a really nice triple. I don't know. I think for us, it's there's a Le Chouffe that we had. That's kind of what it would be kind of based off. Maybe not as cloying as the Le Chouffe, but it's got that. And it's a little stronger than that, but that's kind of more maybe like a more mainstream example of what it would be.
Okay. What's the one thing you want all of us to take away from our chat tonight?
Come visit the brewery. Come see the wall we took out.
Ed's wondering if you're going to do a knockoff of the
A knockoff,
West
sorry.
Belton.
Oh, the West Flutterer knockoff.
Graham, here I'll ask it. When are you going to do a $75 a bottle beer?
Oh, geez. Probably never. I see when I see those, I just I just shake my head. It's I think I mean, yeah, yeah, we would never do that.
I'm just kidding. I shouldn't have put it in that context, but yes, it's created a firestorm in the chat line right now.
Yeah, I guess I'll hear more about it after offline.
We'll hear more about it offline. So we'll go back to my original question. Let's go back to, what do you want all of us to take away tonight?
Lots of beer from the brewery.
Lots of beer from the brewery. Yeah. Graham, thank you for being my guest tonight. It's always a pleasure to have a chat with you and taste your beers.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yep. Remind everybody, next week, Logger Dave and the A team are joining us from Allura Brewing. And I am off to Counterpoint tomorrow morning to do the collab for the birthday party on March the 1st.